Mihika yun yahiya. Netwanian shavuta a tangva tovangar yuva arekamshan. Neshawayeska koi shatoo ekonesh. If you had been here, say, in the year 1600, or even better, 1540, that's the language you would have heard spoken here. And that language is Tongva. And what I gave you was a greeting. Welcome, friends. And I gave you my name, Netwanyan. My name is Shavuta'a, Firehorn. And I gave you my position in tribal council and told you that I was very happy and proud to be here on this day. The original village was Sibagna. The people were the Tongva. And the world of the Tongva, which we call Tovangar, ranged from Malibu, which we know as Ongobiangna, all the way down to the Newport Balboa area. From the coast all the way up to the mountains, the San Gabriel Mountains, which we knew as Hidakapu, all the way to the Cajon Pass, over into Redlands, San Bernardino, down the Santa Ana River, and back down to the Newport Balboa area. Uh, from morning till dusk, we were always involved with the land, either gathering food or hunting or fishing or trapping birds. But all of that was done with a great sense of piety, with a great sense of holiness. This does not mean that every single Tongva way back then did this, but that was the general concept. So that's part of the kind of the background and the relationship. Some of the plants that we used brought us medicine. Other plants brought us food. Other plants brought us construction tools for housing, for clothing, for shoes, for implements, for tools, for weapons. Of all the plants, the most important to us in the past and the most important to us culturally still today, of course, is the oak tree with the acorns. And for the inner valleys, then botanically we're talking about Quercus agrifolia, the coastal live oak. That was the major source of food. As far as the Tongva are concerned, in terms of the LA Basin, each family in a village had ownership and control and management of a specific oak grove, because it was that oak grove and the acorns from those trees that would feed that family. So that family was responsible for the following: for the maintaining of that oak grove, for the pruning of the tree, for the cutting down of diseased and withered branches, for burning the grasses around the trees so that the ash would form a better fertilizer, so that the heat would protect the trees and make them stronger in terms of being immune to beetles and to other insects, and to harden the acorns. But even beyond the world of plant life, this basin was the center of an enormous, very complex and very rich trade route. Most people don't realize how extensive that trade route was. But you can still, to this day, go up into the Los Angeles San Gabriel Mountains and into the San Bernardino Mountains and find the old trails that led from, for example, Santa Monica or Saugna, all the way to the Colorado River and then on down into Mexico. And there are whole sections of the trail that are still visible, and it's startling to suddenly see this trail clearly marked, clearly delineated across the mountaintops, and places where the ancient ones, the ancestors, cleared the rocks away for sleeping areas. Trails could be kept open through the forests by very cleverly clearing the land through very careful fire management, so that trails were kept open. And the traders who were going to trade as far as Cahokia and as far south as Mexico could see the trails, could follow them easily, and make their way through. The fires, of course, were very carefully set, very carefully watched, and immediately stamped out when the fire was no longer needed. So it wasn't a matter of simply going up into places and setting a fire and then hoping that everything turned out all right. It was a 24-hour guarding of the land, guarding of the fire, guarding of what the fire was doing to the land. If we bring it all back in again, we began to realize that this world of the Tongva, this world called Tovangar, was a world that was managed, was a world that was controlled, was a world that was very carefully and sacredly used, and it was a world that fed the people. It fed the people with plants, from acorn to chia, from yerba santa to manzanita, if we're using some of the modern words. If you were to go back to, say, 1500, 1400, 1400, of course, is really nice. Columbus hasn't left Spain yet. You would have found that the whole LA basin, from Burbank all the way to Pomona and through the great grassland and wildflower fields, huge herds of pronghorn antelope. So pronghorn antelope weren't just in Wyoming, they were right here in the LA basin. Also deer. So sometimes, I think about it when we sing that song about where the deer and the antelope play. That's LA. That's the LA basin, the world that was. And within one lifetime, 64 years, California was decimated. California was wiped out. Its people destroyed. Its languages almost exterminated. Its cultural values, its religious practices torn apart. But here and there, people survived. Here and there, people fled and kept their ways. Here and there, people came back together again. And so today, we can welcome you again and say, welcome, friends.